if not more, with their friends online versus in person. For the past few years, we've talked a lot about how much technology millennials use. But let's talk about Generation Z. These are people born between 1997 and 2012. Gen Zers out there, if you got a Gen Z in your room or you've got a Gen Z in your family, let's give Gen Z a round of applause. Their use of technology, 55% use their smartphones for 5 or more hours a day. 75% prefer a smartphone versus a tablet or a traditional computer. They spend 3 hours a day on social media. That's an hour more than millennials. 60% use YouTube daily. 62% use Instagram daily. They stream 23 hours of video a week, and greater than 90% will consider a company's tech sophistication before accepting a job. They are truly the first digital generation. They are the first digital generation. There may be some millennials out there that might remember dial-up. We have some millennials that may have held a physical textbook in the classroom. Millennials may have learned cursive. Generation Z doesn't remember dial-up. They've had access to, internet connection from day one, probably didn't hold a textbook, and did not learn to write cursive. They will be 30% of the US workforce by 2030. They are also the most ethnically diverse generation, and they expect to see ethnic diversity reflected in the leadership of the companies they work. And they will also choose a city before choosing a job. If COVID taught us anything, it was that many jobs that once were believed had to be done from an office, from a specific physical location, that's not necessarily the case. So Generation Z is evaluating where they want to live before choosing a job. They are also values driven, and they want to know what their employer is doing in response to some issues that are plaguing our society. It's no longer okay for an employer not to have an opinion on some of these values that Generation Z hold near and dear to their heart. USA Today had a great article. They interviewed college professors, and in this study, college professors were dumbfounded because their students that were about to graduate college were turning in papers filled with instant message language. We all know what instant message language is, making your sentences shorter, using numbers and letters and substitutions. And as I read this article, the article went on to explain that in the study, they went back and talked to the students about this. The students were just as baffled because they weren't even aware they had slipped into using this instant message language. And I thought to myself, wow, even the way we write to each other has changed. So for example, if somebody from the traditional generation, remember, this is my grandma who wanted to finish her drink. If someone from the traditional generation was going to write a letter to Tom Smith, how would someone from the traditional generation start that letter to Tom Smith? Dear Mr. Smith. How would the baby boomer start that letter to Tom Smith? Dear Tom? Okay. How would the Gen Xer start that letter? How would we start that? I'm a Gen Xer. How would we start that letter, Gen Xers? We'd just probably start Tom. How would the millennials start the letter to Tom Smith? Yo, bro, brah, dude, what's up? They wouldn't even write a letter. When was the last time you got a letter from a millennial? But they would send you a text. The text would say, I'm too hot for you. And now you've got Generation Z. They don't even send you a text of letters and numbers. They send you a text full of emojis. Get it? I'm too hot for you. That's a little you there at the end. Do you know how hard it is to find the right emoji? What's my point? My point is we have talented young people, people that are engaged, people that are excited to be diligent. And sometimes we discount their challenge to change. When they come along and present a different way of doing things, we say no. It happens. I mean, you've been doing your job for a while, you're good at your job, and here comes along someone who has less experience than you do and challenges the way you do your job. We often say no. Rather than saying no to that person's idea, whatever that challenge to change might be, rather than saying no, ask yourself, whatever that person wants to do, whatever they want to try, does it negatively impact cost, quality, safety, or service? Does it negatively impact cost, quality, safety, or service? If the answer is no, that's your little red flag to say, let's give it a try. Worst case scenario, no change. Best case scenario, you find a better way to serve the clients, the board members. You help them get the answers they need so they can be better leaders in their company. Here's why it's important to do this. Just because it worked before doesn't mean it's going to work this time. So just because you've always done it this way doesn't necessarily mean it's the best way to do things. And it is important. You know, I think it's vital that we allow the younger generation to challenge the way we do things if we want them to have a sense of ownership, a sense of purpose. We want them to be as engaged as we are in the purpose at Diligent. We have to allow them to question the way we're doing things now. I mean, that's one way we're going to move forward. All right, last person I would like to quote is Teresa. And if you know Teresa, please give her a shout out. She is, when I spoke to her last week, she was just about to celebrate her first year at Diligent. She and I were chatting, and this is what she had to say. She said, millennials are no longer the new kids on the block. The older you get, the more you become like your parents, no matter how many times you said it would never happen to you. And I know that is true of myself. I find myself saying things to my stepdaughter. I think to myself, oh my God, I sound just like my parents. But that's, again, I like what she has to say, because that's just more reason why we have to allow the younger generation to challenge the way we've done things in the past. All right, I've got one more minute.